I'm here this morning in Temple with Emily McBurney. Emily, thank you for your time this morning. I understand that you worked on Representative Molly White's campaign,
Yes, I
and you have a lot of frustration with the way things turned out.
I do.
Tell me your story. Tell me what happened.
Well, a couple of years ago, I met Molly, was so passionate about her that when I was asked for help with her campaign, I jumped right in there and called and knocked on doors and did everything I could. She won. We were thrilled. She
Yes.
did a great job. She was one of the best. She got elected one of the 10 most conservative representatives in Austin. And she was very, very popular and worked very hard and was very good state representative. And so when she was running for re-election, of course, I volunteered. I came forward and, Molly, what can I do to help? I knocked on doors. I made phone calls. I knocked on hundreds of doors, maybe even 1,000 doors, but made hundreds of phone calls, worked tirelessly for Molly because she was such a great representative. And come to find out after the election, when she lost, I couldn't have been more shocked. The vote was very close, and so I told Molly and anybody that would listen, we need a recount, we need a redo, we need a runoff, we need something. This can't be possible with all my door knocking and my phone calls. There was so much passion for Molly.
Yes.
People wanted yard signs. I had to go back to the headquarters to get more yard signs. Everybody that I talked to personally was, oh, she's done such a great job. Yes, we want a yard sign. Yes, we want to help her in any way we can. We recruited more phone callers. We recruited more door knockers. And the whole campaign just seemed to be going great. I just got so much good feedback on my calls and my door knocking. So I really was not worried about this election. And when they said there was a close call, I was like, this can't be possible. Because the other candidate, the opponent, had sent out mailers that had lies in them, and I was just like, I was thinking he was going to be sued for libel, slander, or at least defamation of character. Daily, or at least weekly, I would get flyers that had maybe, I would say, half-truths to lies. And this upset me greatly, but I thought, nobody's going to pay any attention to that because Molly's honest, honorable, hard worker. Who would pay attention to this? So I continued my door knocking up until the day before election. The day of election, I was at the poll at 6:45 with my sign, holding up my sign for Molly for hours until the middle of the afternoon because I was so passionate about Molly. And the opponent's supporter was nearby, but not too close with her sign. And there was not a lot of camaraderie. I tried. I offered her a bottle of water, but there was no feedback. So and that was fine because I probably wouldn't have, in her shoes, knowing that she was going to lose, I probably wouldn't have been very friendly either. But I could not have been more shocked when I talked to Shirley Stevens, who's an officer in the Republican Party, Women's Republican Party, Women's Republican Organization. She said she worked the polls. She was either a poll watcher or an election judge. In her precinct, they ran out of ballots more than once. They had to go and have ballots reprinted. She said at the end of the day, at 7, there were over 50 people standing in line. Some of them waited to vote, but she said many people did not wait. You know, some of them had to wait 2 hours to vote. She said it wasn't fair. It was not a fair election. And she's an officer in the Republican Women's Club. She should know. She's worked many elections. She's even older than I, so you know, it shows you how proficient she is in elections and overseeing. You know, I have not done that personally for Molly. This time I have been an election worker before, and not necessarily in this one, but I believe Shirley when she tells me this was not a fair election. She said there was so many discrepancies and time spent waiting to vote and couldn't vote. Maybe not couldn't because they could have voted early, but when they went to vote, expecting to vote for Molly, they were not able to either wait the 2 hours or ballots had run out.
Well, and a lot of the older folks, which a lot of the voter crowd, unfortunately, tends to be the older generations. A lot of them cannot stand in line for
2
hours.
That's
Yeah.
true. They could not stand for 2 hours. And my fear is that because the election was not fair, 108 votes does not make a fair election. I've never heard of an election being that close and not having a recount or a
Well,
redo.
okay, they did do a recount.
They did do a
Yes,
recount. I'm
yes.
sorry. They did do a recount. But even then, with the discrepancies of running out of ballots, how many times does that happen? Of people waiting in line to vote for over 2 hours, of people not being able to vote because they couldn't wait for 2 hours. Because of that, even with the recount, I'm suspicious that there were, I don't know how to say the word because I don't want to be libelous, but I just think there were discrepancies where there needs to be.
That caused question. Brought
Yes,
things to be
called a
questioned.
question. Things need to be called to question and a re-vote. I don't know the word for that, but a runoff. There needs to be a runoff.
Well, a runoff would be based on the two finalists, but I think it's called revote when they just dismiss the original election, and for whatever reason there were enough discrepancies where it requires that particular race to be revoted
Revote.
or something
That's what
like
it's called.
something. We'll create a term.
Okay.
I believe I just learned that they are actually doing that in a race over in Waco.
Oh, they are.
So that they had an issue on that.
With another election.
Yes.
Okay, there needs to be another election.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it, it was not fair. Running out of ballots, standing in line, people not being able to vote, and being that close, 108 votes, I believe there needs to be a re-vote.
You worked, it sounds like, tirelessly on the campaign.
Yes.
And I know Molly reported that in many precincts y'all recanvassed it several times, and all of your tracking numbers and everything showed her with a very strong position in numerous areas. And then the votes that came in didn't match up. As a campaign worker, for someone who dedicated your time, which is priceless, to working on this, how's that make you feel?
Well, I'm very frustrated, the fact that I did put in hours and effort and time and passion into the campaign, not because of Molly, but because of the record that she had in Austin. I did it willingly. It wasn't because I was feeling sorry for myself. I was just passionate about the election, passionate about her being my representative, and because everybody was enthusiastic that I talked to, and when I would go back and talk to them again, they would still be very supportive of Molly and wanted brochures to pass out for me. They wanted more yard signs that give me names of people that were also supporting Molly. Could I bring them another sign? And I didn't get, but when I was doing all that walking, all that phoning, I may have had as many as 5 people saying, no, we can't vote for Molly. We've gotten this flyer. It says she was not honest with her taxes. We can't vote for her. And that flyer, of course, we have found out. I found out that it wasn't true. Molly already knew it wasn't true. I suspected it wasn't true. So my feedback from the voters was very positive. And it's just very disappointing. I'm very suspicious that it was not an honest election.
Does what happened here discourage you from working on campaigns in the future?
Absolutely not.
Does it more determined?
It makes me more determined to see that the elections will be fair. It makes me want to be an election judge, a poll watcher, an election worker. It absolutely does not deter me from wanting to see a fair election. If anything, it inspires me to work harder and make sure that the election is going to be honest next time.
That's good. One of the young men I interviewed yesterday, he was one that got turned away from a poll and was told he could not vote, and he or his wife. And when I asked him how that made him feel, he said, he thought for a moment and he said, it makes me feel like a criminal. And I had to think for a moment, why? And that's because a criminal is, all their rights are removed from them.
That's true.
And wow, this is Texas. This is America.
That's true.
We shouldn't have that happening here.
I did not have trouble voting. When I went to vote, it was early in the voting and I had no problem voting. But because I heard so much feedback from others that did have trouble, that it made me very angry.
Yeah.
I'll just admit it, that I'm angry.
Yeah.
I hate to admit that, but I'm angry that there was not an honest vote.
Yeah.
We need to have it over.
Do you think if somebody began a petition to request a revote, that that there would be a lot of participation?
Well, I should hope so. With all the people that I talk to, I know hundreds of people that would sign a petition to have a revote. I would be glad to head up the revote. I would do the petition myself. If I had to knock on every door that I've knocked on already, I would be happy to collect names for a petition for a revote.
Wow. Emily, thank you for telling your story. We need to hear it because when an election doesn't go as it should, it affects a lot of different people that were in lots of different positions. And a campaign worker is just as important as that election judge or the voter or whatever role someone had, because it's our right as an American. So thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it.